At exactly 5:47 a.m., two strangers, 40 miles apart, wake up at the same time. They make their morning drinks, they sit in their favorite chairs, and they think about each other. They've been doing this for 60 years. They just don't know it yet. What you're about to hear will change how you think about lost love forever. Picture this. Dorothy is 80 years old, standing in her kitchen in the half-light before dawn. Her hands shake slightly as she opens a drawer she hasn't touched in decades. Inside, buried beneath old recipes and faded photographs, is an envelope, thin, yellowed, her name written in handwriting that makes her heart stop. The letter is from 1965. She's never seen it before. But here's where it gets strange. At that exact moment, 40 miles away, a man named Robert is holding a black and white photograph. A girl mid-laugh, hair wild in the wind, a lake in the background. He's 82 now. The photo is from the summer of 1964. He's kept it hidden for 60 years. They haven't spoken since that summer. They have no idea the other is even alive. But every single morning, they wake up at the same time, make their drinks the same way, sit in the same chairs, and remember. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds like a movie. But what happened next, nobody could have written this. Let me take you back. The year is 1964. Dorothy is 19. It's July, and the summer air tastes like freedom and recklessness. She's standing on a wooden dock, barefoot, laughing as cold lake water splashes against her ankles. Beside her is Robert, 20 years old, trying to memorize everything about this moment because in 2 weeks, he's leaving for university 3 states away. They'd spent the entire summer pretending time didn't exist. Every evening at the lake, every whispered promise, every stolen kiss behind the old boathouse. "You'll write to me," Dorothy said, trying to sound braver than she felt. "Every single week," Robert promised, and he meant it. God, he meant it. They carved their initials into the dock railing, D+R, right beside a knot in the wood that looked like a crooked heart. They believed that meant forever. But we're getting ahead of ourselves because what Dorothy and Robert didn't know, what they couldn't have known, was that someone was watching, someone who thought they knew better. Dorothy's father was a banker, respected, traditional, and he looked at Robert and saw a factory worker's son with big dreams and empty pockets, no college degree, no guarantees, no future. That's not what he wanted for his daughter. So when the first letter arrived in September of 1964, Dorothy never saw it. Her mother quietly slipped it into a drawer. Then the second letter came, October, into the drawer. Then November, December, January. By March of 1965, Robert had written 17 letters. Dorothy received 0. Now here's what makes this absolutely devastating. Robert didn't know the letters weren't reaching her. He just knew she wasn't writing back. So he sent one more, one final letter. March 3rd, 1965. "I'm coming back for you. I just need one more year to finish school. Wait for me. Please wait." He mailed it with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. The letter was returned 3 weeks later. Returned to sender. Address unknown. Except the address wasn't unknown. Dorothy's parents had written that themselves. What happened next changed everything. Robert stopped writing. He believed she'd moved on, that she'd chosen a safer life, a better man, someone her parents approved of. He buried himself in his studies, worked 2 jobs, graduated, built a career. Eventually, he married a kind woman named Susan, had 2 children, created a life that looked perfect from the outside. But every time he passed a lake, he thought about bare feet on a wooden dock. Meanwhile, Dorothy waited all through the fall of 1964, all through the winter. When spring came and no letters arrived, she thought Robert had forgotten her, that university had opened up a bigger world and she was just a small-town girl he'd left behind. Her heart broke quietly, the way hearts do when you're 19 and the world tells you that dreams don't survive reality. She met a man named James in 1967. He was stable, successful,
Her parents loved him. She married him that same year. They had a good marriage, 3 children, a house with a garden. James was a good man. She was happy. But there was always a small room in her heart that belonged to a summer when she was 19. Now, fast forward 60 years. Robert's wife Susan passed away in 2023. While sorting through decades of boxes, he found that photograph, the one of Dorothy laughing by the lake. He'd hidden it so well, he'd almost forgotten it existed. He sat in his chair that night and wept like he was 20 years old again. But here's what he didn't do. He didn't search for her. Because some doors feel too heavy to open. Some questions are too terrifying to ask. What if she didn't remember? What if she did and didn't care? What if she was gone? But Dorothy found that letter. The one from March 3rd, 1965. The one her parents had hidden. The one that said, "Wait for me." And suddenly, 60 years of her life rearranged themselves like a puzzle she'd been solving wrong the entire time. She didn't sleep that night. The past wasn't soft anymore. It was sharp, alive, demanding answers. The next morning, she did something crazy. Plus, she did something crazy the next morning. She called her granddaughter, a tech-savvy 24-year-old named Sophie. "I need you to find someone for me," Dorothy said, her voice shaking. "Who, Grandma?" "A boy I used to know." It took 3 hours. 3 search engines, 2 social media platforms, but Sophie found him. Robert Bennett, 82 years old, living in Riverside, 40 miles away. 40 miles. 60 years. They'd been that close the entire time. Dorothy stared at the phone number on the screen. Her finger hovered over the call button. What do you even say after 60 years? How do you apologize for a silence that wasn't your fault? At that exact moment, and I mean this literally, Sophie checked the timestamps later, Robert was sitting in his armchair staring at that photograph again. His phone rang. He almost didn't answer. Unknown number, but something made him pick up. Hello? There are moments when time folds in on itself, when 60 years collapse into a single heartbeat. Dorothy? The voice was older now, softer, worn thin by decades. But the music of it was exactly the same. He closed his eyes. "Dorothy?" And they both laughed. Not because anything was funny, but because the weight of 60 years needed somewhere to go. They talked for 4 hours that day, about marriages that were good, children they raised, jobs they worked, ordinary days that mattered. And then they talked about the summer of 1964 like it happened yesterday. "I wrote you," he said, voice breaking. "I wrote you so many letters." "I never got them," she whispered. "I waited for you. I waited so long." The truth came out in pieces. The hidden letters, the parental sabotage, the small decisions that rippled across entire lifetimes. But here's what shocked everyone. There was no anger, no bitterness, just understanding. They agreed to meet. Of course they did. And of course, they chose the lake. 3 days later, Dorothy stood on the same dock. Well, not the same. It had been rebuilt twice since 1964, but the lake was the same restless blue. The air smelled the same. She got there early, clutched her purse like a teenager trying to hold her nerves together. Then she saw him walking. Slowly, leaning on a cane he kept pretending he didn't need. For a moment, they just looked. 80 years old, wrinkled, bent by time, eyes still bright. "You kept your promise," he said quietly. "You waited." "You came back," she replied, and they both laughed. Not because anything was funny, but because the weight of 60 years needed somewhere to go. They sat on a bench overlooking the water, shoulders touching. They talked about everything. Their spouses, both gone now, their children, grandchildren, the beautiful, ordinary lives they'd built from the rubble of a broken promise. "I loved James," Dorothy said. "He was a good man." "Susan was the love of my life," Robert agreed. "I don't regret marrying her." But they both understood something profound. You can love more than one person. You can build a beautiful life from broken dreams. And sometimes the person you lost isn't meant to be found again. Sometimes they're just meant to be remembered. Except this time, they got something else. A chance to say the words they'd swallowed for 60 years. As the sun began to set, painting the lake in gold and pink, Robert pulled out a small pocket knife. "Help me up," he said. They walked to the railing. His hands weren't steady anymore. Neither were hers. Together, they carved 2 letters into the wood, D and R. The lines were crooked, imperfect, permanent. At 20, they believed love was about holding on forever. At 80, they understood it was about finding your way back. Not to change the past, not to undo their separate lives, but to close the loop, to say thank you, to acknowledge that what they'd shared was real and mattered and shaped every day that came after. They sat there as stars appeared, not trying to outrun time anymore, just grateful they'd come full circle.
Dorothy's granddaughter Sophie asked her later, "Grandma, are you sad about everything you missed?" Dorothy smiled. "Sad? No, sweetheart. I'm grateful." "For what?" "That I got to love 2 good men in 1 lifetime. That I got to raise beautiful children. That I got to have this moment right here. Some people never get closure. Some people carry questions forever." She paused. "I got my answer. After 60 years, I got my answer." Robert and Dorothy still talk now, every Sunday morning. Same time they've been waking up for 60 years. They've met each other's families, shared photo albums, filled in the gaps. They're not trying to recapture what they had. You can't go back. The doc is different. They are different. But they're friends now, real friends. The kind who know every version of each other. The 19-year-old dreamers and the 80-year-old survivors. And sometimes, on quiet mornings, they both wake up at 5:47 a.m., make their drinks, and smile. Because they know the other one is out there, doing the same thing. Not strangers anymore. Finally, impossibly, perfectly found. So what do you think? Should Dorothy's parents have let those letters through? Or did everything happen exactly as it was supposed to? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your take on this. And if this story hit you the way it hit me, share it with someone who believes in second chances. Because sometimes the love story isn't about the happily ever after. Sometimes it's about the courage to find your way back. I'll see you in the next one.